What is up, you guys, and thank you so much for joining me. Today we are working on the Duramax. I cannot wait to show you how good this thing came out. My dad killed it on repairing the fender, the door, the front bumper. Now, if you guys missed the previous video, we had a little bit of a run-in with a semi. I'll post a link in the description below so you guys can check that out. But like I had talked about in that video, I wanted to go ahead and just color match the front bumper, all of that. Now, I had these pieces. The whole front end is basically brand new. Grill, bumper ends, bumper, the valence, everything's new. I just had them color match them while it was already there. Now we need to go ahead and color match the grill. Now we could go ahead and scuff up the grill, add some adhesion promoter, and then paint the grill, but I like to drive it and I'm worried about it getting a lot of rock chips. So I ordered up some vinyl that should match that really well, and then we can go ahead and wrap it in a future video. And real quick, before we get into today's video, I wanted to show you guys they also color match the fender flares we had for it. We just need to add a hardware, get them installed. I'll be doing that in a future video. We also got the rear bumper ends right there, color match. So like I said, everything that's chrome on the truck is gonna be color matched. We're just waiting for a few more parts for the rear bumper, and then I can go ahead and get that installed. But for those of you that clicked the video for the install, we've got the ball joints right here, the tie rod ends, and the tie rods. So we just need to go ahead and get this cleaned up, and we can pull the Duramax in. Because the truck desperately needs those parts. The steering's still a little jacked up from the wreck. Seems legit. Pulling the truck can be a little tight. Make sure we're good over there. Now the tire's out of the way, you guys can see what we're working with. Now I do have a zone upper control arm with a zone ball joint, but it's basically gonna be the same setup as stock. I'll show you guys a little bit of difference once we get into it. I did forget to show you guys that there was a lot of camber because this thing is blown out. I'll take a clip from the last video and show you guys real quick. The front tire's got a little extra camber to her. And if you're wondering if your ball joint's going out, it's gonna make an aggressive clunking noise when you're going over bumps or popping noise. So what I'm gonna start off with doing is get the ABS line out of the way, pull it out, get it over to the side, and then we'll disconnect the brake line up here so that way it can dangle, so that when we pull the knuckle out, it won't stress those. Now I already disconnected it up here from the frame, that little piece right there. Disconnect the plug, take your tin, and then take your tin, and we can let that hang. Now so we need to move this little cotter pin right here. There we go. Then we go ahead and start to remove the nut on the bottom of the ball joint. So I'm trying to get my best to get you guys a good angle, but normally when you're undoing this nut right here, you're gonna wanna leave a few threads holding on so that when you get a pickle fork in here to break it free from the ball joint, it doesn't just, the knuckle doesn't just fall. But as you guys can see right here, is it's already breaking free from the ball joint. So I went ahead and grabbed a couple bungee cords, wrapping around the brake rotor, so hopefully once I loosen it up all the way, the knuckle won't just fall. And when you guys go do this, you're gonna have much more room if you do it from the front. I'm kind of just running into the brake caliper right here and not really got a whole range of motion. But for video purposes, I'm doing it from the back side here. There we go. Got the ball joint broken free from the knuckle. As you guys can see, is it is all the way blown out. Now we'll get to removing the ball joint itself. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this 8mm, pop out the grease fitting. There we go. That is rough in there. So before you go ahead and press the ball joint out or try to press it out, make sure you don't have a retainer clip or a circle clip holding the ball joint in, which this one does. Yours may not, but it's best to make sure. There we go. Now we can press it out. Now it's time to go ahead and remove the ball joint. I went ahead and sprayed some penetration lube under there to try and help make it a little easier. Take a cup, fits right over the control arm. Take this little piece here, put it on top, and we go ahead and get the press. Get it lined up like that. Here it's nice and tight. Now what we're gonna be doing is driving the ball joint up through the top. There we go. And there it is. Yeah, she's a little jacked up. And cleaned up the control arm where the ball joint's gonna be going. Now before we install this, I wanna show you guys this dimple real quick. Make sure when you install it, the dimple's either facing out or facing in. You don't want it to be facing front to back, because this is the pivot point on it. is left to right, and if you have it in the wrong way, it's going to wear out prematurely. So we're going to go ahead and just have the dimple facing out. Now it's time to press this bad boy in. I got this cup down here. Put this piece right here. Now you don't, when you press it in, you're not going to want to press it directly on the ball joint. You're going to want to have something in between it. Now if you have the stock setup, you can go ahead and just put this in between, but I need this piece right here. Now the ball joint's good and pressed in, it's time to install our retainer clip. Okay, apparently ball joint's not pushed all the way in, so try that again. Okay, round two, here we go. There we go. Yay. Now we just need to put the cap on. There's a little O-ring if you have these zone ball joints. Put the little rubber O-ring on there. So down in there. If you guys have the zone ball joints, you're going to want the extension grease fitting. It does come with the smaller one, but use the extension. There we go. Now we just need to get the knuckle back up over the ball joint, get the washer, the nut on, and then the cotter pin. Bam, new ball joint is in. New nut and cotter pin is installed right there. I did have to use the other jack to get everything up so I could actually get the nut to catch a thread. Did forget to mention, this is very important. You want to grease the ball joint after installation. I apologize for not saying that earlier. As you guys can see, everything is pretty crusty in here. We did do the new hubs last year on it, so that's all good to go. I've got all new brakes, got new shocks, new everything. I actually have new lower control arms that we're going to be installing here in the future. As for the tie rod and the tie rod ends, that's going to be tomorrow's problem because we did get a late start on the ball joints, so we'll pick back up on this tomorrow. Don't go anywhere because I got an upgrade for the tie rods that I did not show you guys in the beginning because I forgot I had them. Now we can move to removing the tie rod. Ugh, that thing did not want to come out. Removing the castle nut using a 13/16. Bit of a whack on the knuckle. That is an aggressive angle. There we go. Alright, now we just need to break the tie rod in free. Okay, this thing didn't want to break free. So let's try some fire. And I didn't catch the boot on fire, that's good. Yes! It worked.
Hell yeah.
Yay, got it up. Okay, finally got this thing off. Usually it's not that difficult, but this one was, so we added some fire, ended up getting it off. Now for the tie rod and the tie rod end, we went with Moog. It is the best in my opinion. Unless you go, there's other brands out there for like the beefier setups, but for stock replacement, Moog is what you should go with. At least that's my opinion. So we got that right there, and then the tie rod end. And then like I showed you guys last night, we've got this thing right here. Now this is called a sleeve, tie rod end sleeve. Goes right over. It's supposed to help strengthen your tie rod end because right here's a weak point, especially if you're in four-wheel drive and all that. Now, we're not gonna be doing any four-wheel drive launches, but if things get crazy, I'd like to have this thing on for a little added security. Just threads on like that. I've got it threaded all the way back, so when we go ahead and put the tie rod on, we've got room to play with. And then also, this piece right here, the sleeve, will take place of the locking nut. Now I'm not gonna have exact measurements here. Unfortunately, I cannot find my ruler. So what I'm gonna do is flip this upside down and hopefully line it up best as possible from this end to this end once I get it threaded all the way in, and then I'll just call it good and then they can fix it because it's gonna have to go in for an alignment. It needs alignment really bad. So I'm gonna get it as close as possible and then we'll get it installed on the truck. I do apologize for the terrible lighting, but that is pretty dang close. I got the grease fitting installed right there and these ends are flush over here. So we're gonna call that good. I'm gonna tighten this up and then we'll get it installed. Okay, it turns out I wasn't recording. So what I ended up doing is having to take this apart. As you guys can see, I had to take the sleeve off because the sleeve's a little too fat to get in between the sway bar here while I was trying to tighten it up. So what I did when I took the tie rod off is I just backed the sleeve up and then counted how many turns it took to get the tie rod off. And now I'm gonna do the same count to get it back on, and hopefully it'll line up about the same length as it was before. I can reinstall the sleeve and the tie rod. 1, 2. Now I can put the tie rod back in the knuckle. And there we go. The castle nut, thread it on. Slide the new cotter pin in. Now I just need to tighten the sleeve back down and we're good to go. Also make sure once you're done with the install, grease the tie rod right there. And then tie rod end right there. There's the nipple. Just finished tightening up and greasing up everything. Now I just need to get the wheel and tire on and we're good to go. Now I hope the video taught you guys something. If you guys have questions, as always, comment below. I will put links to everything that I can get links to, which is basically everything that we've installed in this video. So I'll have those in the description below as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I cannot wait to continue building this truck up. I know this was just repairs, but I've got a lot of mods that you guys saw and then some that you haven't. So we will be getting those on very soon. Again, thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys have a great night.